Hello, everyone. I'm Ronan and Jane, and welcome back to Commandos Chat. I'm your host, and we're here to talk a little bit about. And I have here with me a dear friend of mine from Council of Creators, someone that I had to time it right to be like, okay, what episode of this show do I want to talk about them? Talk with them about the stuff. And I have with me Joypad Jake. What's up, Jake?
Hey, what's up, Ronan? Thank you for having me on. I appreciate you bringing me in here.
You're welcome. And for everybody who's watching this, I want to give a heads up. We are talking spoilers, so if you haven't seen the show or the episode, go watch it ASAP. There's a lot we're going to talk about that you don't want spoiled. You want to go and watch it as fresh as possible. So, Jake, I've been waiting for you to watch this episode. You've seen it.
Yeah.
As of now, just get your basic thoughts on the episode, and then we'll dive into some of the moments within it.
Um. Okay. Some general thoughts. Really enjoyed this episode. It was one of my favorites of the series we've gotten so far. I'd say it and episode four are probably tied for my favorite right now. Um. Liked the story that they took. The angle that we saw Phosphorus on, and the little bits that you got in between with the other members. And this episode did a thing that I always like whenever movies or TV shows do, is that they have, characters that are kind of off on their own journeys, and then they all kind of connect together by the end. And I think the way they did that was really well done, and it brought the episode together really, really well. Um, and we'll get more into what I mean by those later. There were also some just jaw-dropping moments that we'll get into, but no, I really, really like this episode, and I definitely see what you mean when you say this was one that I'd get a kick out of.
Yeah, there's a couple of friends of ours that are very much in the deep with DC stuff, and yeah, this one and episode four, I was just like, oh, I wonder what their thoughts are going to be about the
Yeah.
stuff being presented to us. But yeah, folks, uh, Creature Commandos, episode 6, the penultimate episode of the season, Priatel Skelet. This one was directed by Sam Liu. If you're a DC fan, if you're an animation fan, this gentleman has been working on DC animation since a lot of us were born.
Yeah.
He has a very very high stamp in a lot of our upbringings, and I think left a big mark on what he can do direction wise. And then with this one, man, between Phosphorus backstory and the little adventure that Nina and the bride go through,
Mhm.
it's glorious and whatnot.
Yeah.
And oh, look at this. Oh, hey, Felipe, how you doing?
And that little small subplot, or I don't even know if you can really call it a subplot, it's more like three scenes, but those little bits that we got intercut there with Weasel, after what you saw from that character in episode four, for some reason, I just really liked those scenes because they really hit you on an emotional core.
Yeah, yeah, especially with how much he's gone through. It's
Yeah.
just so almost poetic at points that you're like, oh, look at him now.
Yeah.
He's not
Uh,
just
yeah. He's found some
biting into his
friends.
belt.
Yeah.
He's got he's got a mechanism going now where he's trying to
Yeah.
avoid any conflict and try to resolve it in some regards. And just him that moment with seeing the kid he tried rescuing, and Ilana was just like, oh, that's
Yeah. That
so
was really
much.
nice.
Yeah. Let's see. We said Weasel meeting a pack of wolves was kind of cute. Yep,
Yeah, I
I
think
agree.
so.
I agree. Um, Jake. So again, we're gonna go easy about it, and I'm gonna say this one more time for anybody who may have missed it. Spoilers. That's it. Jake, we see this. I literally, and again, it's what's so good about them trusting the audience to put the pieces together. And it's just like if you've grown up a fan of DC and grown up a fan of a particular character, you know what this echoes, you know what this symbolizes, you know what this
Mhm.
calls to. Um,
Mhm.
Yeah, man. I've been look at that. Yeah. Oh, I've been. What did
Yeah.
you think when you first saw that shot? What did you think of that?
So when I first saw that particular image, I was like, wait, hold on. We're going here. Is this setting up a sprinkle a little bit? Are they gonna do the thing? And well, yeah. uh, yeah, those are basically my thoughts throughout the whole episode. At first, I thought it was just a nice homage, but I was like, wait, hold on. That's got to mean something.
Yeah. And did you instantly know? You must have. You recognized either the voice, the tone, or the presence of this guy. Did you know who it was instantly?
When they like, I had an idea, and then when they said his name, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. I immediately thought back to the pair, Rose and Thorn, and the more and more they kept going through it, leading up to it, before they actually say his name, like toward the end of the episode, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I know who this is. They're not saying it, but I think I know.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, hold on. Let's see. We got Phil saying you don't go to Gotham City without making it known. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This whole episode feels like a homage to Feet of Clay from Dance. Yeah, because of
Yeah.
and we'll get into it, but I also felt a little bit of a Watchmen echoes in some regards when we get to the later part of the episode with how Dr. Phosphorus goes down
Yeah.
becoming the Dr. Phosphorus.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Again, music panning down when if you saw the group's reaction, you can go check out on the channel. All of us were like, yo, what the hell? Are we here? Are they doing this to us? And again, it's not making a big deal. It was almost like nonchalant, like, oh, by the way, this is where we're hanging right now. So feel free to cross-examine all of this out the wazoo if you like. And I like that aspect, especially with that side of the DC universe. That you're like, we've been here enough times. Y'all can ease into it if you will. We don't have to explain everything to you. But listen, Rupert Thorne is as brutal as it gets, and I forget oh my god, what's the name? But the voice actor, I believe he played Dutch in Red Dead Redemption. And I was just like, that is so cool. And that like that dude now has the DCU under his belt. And I love the voice. And for me, from what I remember of Batman Taz, you got the tone right of just like these guys don't mess around and they'll do anything to get ahead of the curve and to make a point to be like, don't. And then he says, don't mess with Rupert Thorne. Yeah. What did you think, Jake, as someone growing up with the character and be like, yeah, they got it right? Or not?
Well, that really kind of summarized it right there. I was like, I really got the vibe from that character. And, to like an average fan of, that character, they might not look at Rupert Thorne and think there's really much there, but there's a lot of substance to just the tone and the meat of the character. And this episode really showed that. And it's such an effective job of showing you that that Alex would go down the path that he eventually would, and it set it up so well, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I love that even we get to spend time a little bit with the doctor's like backstory with saying he had a son or he had a kid, whatnot, and playing flying. He had a wife, and how she was very much torn that like, dude, yeah, you're trying to do good, but you're doing it. You're in bed with criminals, if you will.
Yeah.
And I love that aspect and that angle of just seeing them, and
Yeah.
you see how much it's tearing him apart of like, I don't want to do this, but we can change people's lives and whatnot.
Yeah, the fact that he's aware of how bad they are, he's not just blind to their actions,
Yes.
but
He's not in denial. Yeah.
He's putting thoughts above it.
Benjamin Byron Davis voice Rupert Thorne. Thank you, Phil.
Yep.
Yeah. They will not crush us. Yeah, I think what's almost a little. Anyways, I love the pacing, the editing with this episode, because at the same time that this is going down, we see the adventures that Nina and the Bride are going through. Folks, if people don't get it through their heads that like this is not a show for kids. Here's another episode
Yeah.
showing on like, hey man, this is what we're not every. Well, I'll say that for later, but like this is an episode where it's like a show like this can go to a point like this and be like, hey, this is as
Yeah.
realistic as it gets. We'll go to a club where there are, how do I put it? There's escorts, if you will. There are pleasurers, and it was a great, like, out of all the places to have a philosophical talk about where the bride's mindset is at, and like she got a free.
Right.
Fucking Nina was like, "Oh my gosh, you're crazy! You stop with the
Yeah.
killing. You need
And
therapy." It's like you got a free therapy session.
and you would not expect that to be the venue for that sort of thing to go down.
Exactly. I was just like, this is so bizarre and weird and metal, and I love that about it. I love that, like, and I don't expect every DCU project to go like this, but the fact that they're saying, listen, there's different shades to our fandom, and we should be willing and free to tackle each one in their own respective way, and don't be afraid to talk about some serious stuff in any place, regardless of people's viewpoints on it and whatnot.
No, and I think they handled it really well. Like they handled the serious, subject, I don't know, subject matter, the serious tone, but weren't hitting you over the head with it. It's like, look, we're doing this. It's just like, no, it's set here, and here's what we're saying. They don't hit you over the head with it at all.
Yeah, it's yeah. I'm loving that. Like, all right, I don't have to worry about everything being like this, and yet, oh, okay, cool. This universe welcomes this, and yeah, I just love that. Like, and
Yeah.
talk about a presence. What's her name? I instantly, as soon as I heard her voice, I was like, yo, I recognize this voice. I recognize this voice from somewhere, and the actress is from The Expanse. She was in X-Men: The Last Stand. She was recently in The Penguin as um oh my gosh, I'm already.
Oh, the head of that place.
Yeah. Oh my gosh,
I can't even remember her name.
forgive me for not, but like I instantly, all of us were like, "Yo, we know who that is.
Yeah.
We've heard this person's voice our whole lives, as well." Like, and I was just like, "Oh, that's cool that they got her to be part of the DCU or not."
Right.
I think Maroney. I think it was Mrs. Maroney, if you will, right? Like,
Right. Yeah, from the Penguin.
yeah. And I was just like, what an interesting gig to get, and yet doing something. Why? Thank you, Phil. Phil's right, man. Let's see.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she's Nadia Maroney in The Penguin, the head of the brothel. Sure, please forgive me if I butcher your name. Shore Agdashlu. Please forgive me if I butcher your name.
And I believe she was even in, if I'm not mistaken, I think she was in Star Trek Beyond as one of the commanders.
Yeah, she's the one that talks to, again, another moment of like ideal.
Yeah.
She talks to Kirk. Is this what you want to do? Is this what is this what you want out of your whole life? Like, like, do you want to be an admiral or not? Yeah.
Yep. So apparently she has a thing of bringing out these philosophical moments.
Although it took me a while to get to her name, for me, she's earned her stripes in nerdom and geekdom. She is.
Oh yeah.
She has been, adding to different sides of nerdom, of pop culture, and I love that about her.
Oh yeah.
Let's see what. Okay, we have another comment by Michael Jordan. Or Mikael Jordan. I don't think it's the guy from the Bulls. Let's see. Creature Commandos is so good. I hate when people say James Gunn's project are the same thing over and over, but he always delivers. Also, I don't know if it hit me, or I would totally ship Bride and Phosphorus. I don't know about that. Because there's a little smirk at the end of like, woof, you're hot with that look.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would ship them, but I remember thinking, I don't know if this sounds weird to me, but oh hell, I'll say it. Initially, I shipped Nina and GI. Again, but again, they were friends, and so I'm like, all right, you know what? It's fine if they're just friends, but and that becomes a thing, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Like if I'm the guy who defend the love in Shape of Water, how can I deny that? But yeah, I love that. And listen, I don't think. Yeah, I know. I know, Phil. I listen. I don't. I feel that Superman is gonna be the big like statement. I'm like, if everything lines up right, which with that trailer, it feels like it will, but who knows? It's a long way till July.
Yeah.
If everything lines up right with Superman, it's a big statement. I'd be like, listen, I could do the unknowns and I could do the All Stars. Hey, All Star Superman.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I it'll be a big statement to say that like I could do both, but for me, I feel technically you don't have to, because if you're making me care about from across the board and across franchises, a talking raccoon, talking tree, you make me appreciate two blue people, one's robotic and one knows how to whistle an arrow. You make me care about villains with the names Polka Dot Man and Ratcatcher 2, and then you make me Phil's gonna love this one. You make me almost pity and in some regards forgive, quote unquote, I don't know how I still feel about it, a guy named Peacemaker. And now you gave me a whole new group of friends who I consider almost like family now. I don't know if you need any more regarding to push and elevate a lot of DCU source material, because spoiler alert for those who don't know, the DC is more than just Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman. They're the I know, right? I know. They're the pillars. They're the pillars if you say, but with this new era, I think people like The Question. I think people like The Bride and GI Robot are gonna go up there. I feel like
Yeah,
people like, and you know how I've been saying his name, Animal Man,
yeah.
Plastic Man, Swamp Thing. Listen, Supergirl has had her own show and her own movie, and I love that about it. But I think now more than ever, because where social media is at, people are gonna know Supergirl more now. It's just right now, to me, the possibilities are endless, and a lot of stuff can change within a couple months. But I'm hopeful more than
Oh,
ever
yeah.
with being a DC fan in terms of the cinematic experience. In
Yeah.
TV, I've been set since the Bruce Timm, Paul Dini, Alan Burnett, Jerry
And
Romano era.
Aronofsky,
I've
yeah.
been set.
Yeah.
You have any thoughts, Jake, or no? Oh,
Well, I
okay.
think one of the things that's really,
Hi, Hunter.
I think the most telling, so especially about Superman right now, I've seen a lot of people criticizing, oh, is James Gunn putting all these other heroes in this movie just to, say that he can't like make a movie solely about one character because he's always done team movies. It's like, I don't really think that's a criticism against the movie, because that's even more impressive of the fact that if you manage to balance a movie with that many characters, I think the fact that you're able to balance that many characters' personalities is more of a testament than it is a criticism. And
Mm,
those heroes are not just there to fill the purpose and be used as a crutch. They're there to show that this is a lived-in world. Because take a popular thing to contrast, Man of Steel. That one was set up with the premise of if Superman came to Earth, it would be the biggest event in the world, and like no one would really know what to do. It would be
yeah.
unprecedented. He's We're seeing him in a world full of lived-in heroes now, like people that have been established. Some probably longer than he has, and
Yeah.
it's a whole different
But
way of going about it. So I don't think those other heroes being in there is a crutch at all. I think if anything, it's more impressive, and it builds out the world without having to dedicate so much time to each individual one. It just adds more meat to it.
yeah, it's harder. It's like now, and again, I'm not, because I'm a nerd. I'm not too fully worried about if they're gonna get Guy Gardner right or whatnot. Although I want them to get Guy Gardner right. I want them to
Yeah.
get Kendra Saunders, to get Michael Holt, if I'm not mistaken,
Yep.
right? Mr. Terrific.
Yes, Michael Hall.
Metamorpho.
Morpho.
Yeah, Rex Mason.
Yeah.
I want them to get him right, but it's the big enchilada. It's like you got to get Clark and Superman right.
All right, you have to get the namesake of the movie right.
Especially where we're at right now in society and the world.
Yeah, and I think because not a whole lot of people know about this property, unfortunately, but I think that especially for the people that were fans of CW that loved Tyler Hoechlin's Superman as much as they did, I think they're really keen to see what this new portrayal does, because a lot of people consider that one of the definitive versions of the character now, and it's really going to see, because we haven't had a universally loved Superman movie by the public ever since the 1980s with Superman 2. And if this can finally break that trend, it would be nice. And I think Darren was even talking about this on one of his podcasts, but I think the whole crux of who Superman is, and that just the concept of his character, has really been skewered by modern society. And I think this is going to just show what makes Superman special and why he can still work in the modern day.
Yeah, I agree. I if I can care about a little scrawny little kid named Steve Rogers and follow him not because he wears that damn costume, but because of who he is, I can follow someone like Kal-El, like Clark Kent. Phil was confirming, yep, correct about she was in Star Trek. And friend Nina, I know, Phil, I know. Hunter Iggy saying, "We're gonna change who saved the little girl in the burning school, but if she is dead, then who is she really?" I think referring to Alana Hunter, if I'm not mistaken.
I think that's what he's talking about.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I do, but I'm not gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah. No, those Weasel scenes in episode 4 where you see it in the school, that was gut wrenching, man.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
it's like you're feeling for a character that can't actually talk at all, but they're following the cardinal rule of storytelling, which is show, don't tell. And that's especially important for characters that can't, that can't commute, that don't really have dialogue. So it's especially important that you get that right for them.
Yeah. And let's see. But I think that's what we were thinking about Hunter and Miguel Jordan, G.I. Robot, and Nina definitely need happen. LOL. Also, I do believe at the end we will see him rebuild or get teased at it. And what are your guys' thoughts on season 2 of Creature Commandos? You know what? I'll say this. At the end of this stream, when we finish talking about this episode, we'll go into a tiny bit of what we think of season 2. But if you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. I'd appreciate it. And then you come back next week. I got an interesting pair of ideas I have planned to talk about the finale of Creature Commandos and the series as a whole. So if you want to hear our thoughts about season 2, we'll give you a little bit in here, and then you're going to want to come back next week where we talk about where my thoughts are. And, I got ideas. So we'll leave it at that for now.
So stay here for the sneak peek, and then you get the full thing next week.
Yeah. But yeah, I think in they do again talking about Weasel. This was such a wholesome, sweet moment, and you see almost growth in Weasel.
Yeah,
you see him being like, "No, I'm not just gonna attack for the Christ, for the sake of it and biting my belt, but just ease into a pack of wolves and be like, I'm just a wanderer. I'm not here to cause problem." And if this is, dare I say it, this is what the authority, not the team, but the cops and the old man with the shotgun, this is what I think, and I'm gonna make a video about it later of what James gonna say with these characters. I'm like, let's just try something new. Let's try a different route than, again, one of my favorite lines in Those Suicide Squad. Typical American, he's running, guns blazing. It's like this one, he chose not to run in gun blazing. He said, you know what? Here's a stick. I can whack you. I can shank you with this wooden thing. But you know what? I'm gonna do a Kobayashi Maru, if you will. And you know what? I'm gonna sit down, be peaceful, and then we're gonna see if we get along. And he does that. And I love that. There was a new approach that Weasel said, let's try an alternative or not. And wait, Jake, do you know this person, Chainsaw Reacts? I think I saw that guy today. Guy Pierce? Guy Gardner?
Guy Ritchie? I don't know. We might have met up at some point for something. I can't remember.
Metallica
Memory's a little
concert.
bit foggy. Could have been Metallica. Who knows? Um, Definitely didn't see a very bad opener before that.
Oh my god.
But
Hi Chainsaw. Hi Jordan.
what's up,
Folks, this is it. This is it. Not the Michael Jackson stuff, but um, Chainsaw Reacts channel. Council creators every Wednesday. Subscribe to the channel. Watch the show. This is where we're always there, hang out, mess around. You don't want to miss the show.
That guy.
This show, yeah, this is where we met. So you want to hang out there, and it's we talk about all the pop culture stuff, including the show like this, and then for the latter half, it becomes full on Adult Swim, if you will.
Yeah, it's what Nick at Night wished they could have been. Yeah, but no, that Weasel stuff I think was really important because with especially what you saw in the school, I think that the decisions that he makes with the wolves, just that scene, which by the way looked visually beautiful. I think it was really important to show that, you know, like he might look scary to some people, but he's going to choose not to be a monster. And the fact that you got all of that again from just facial expressions and sounds, I think was really telling.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, it's the art of almost like silent film work, if you will, where you're like just the actions will tell you everything you need to know about the scene, how the character is feeling, and what might happen next. And I'll tell you this: seeing this shot and knowing what's gonna happen next, I was like so eerie.
Yeah.
And I'm not, and folks, I'm not gonna show the shot of the family because it's graphic, it's brutal. It was so like eerie to watch. That if you want to see it for a brief second, go watch the reaction on the channel. But this ruthless son of a bitch doing this. So what I teased about how I felt about this shot, how initially I think even Phil said that, you know, that whole episode feels like a homage to Feet of Clay, where you know they force I forget it. Oh my gosh, I forget that version of Clayface. There we go. They put all the clay in his mouth, and it's almost like waterboarding, if you will.
Yeah.
This dude, I got Watchmen vibes. I got It's John Austin. I think it's John. Yeah, it's John. Going back to the watch, and it closing in on him, and you know, especially the film version with you know, the glass music. It just, I felt eerie about this. How did you expect them to showcase us what was going to go down with Matt Hagen? There we go, Matt Hagen.
Oh yeah, Matt Hagen.
I knew, what did you think with this scenario and how it was presented to us, of how it was just going to deteriorate all his skin and change him mentally and physically, but mostly mentally?
Well, so leading into that scene with, you know, the graphic scene that's not going to be shown. I will say first of all, that was gut wrenching to watch, and I got a little bit of a flashback to the first Flash season, obviously where Henry Allen is framed for the death of Nora. But I thought this episode took kind of that concept and took it to the most extreme level you could, especially with what they force Alex's hands to do. I thought was very, very brutal. And the visuals of that, and with how he ends up, you know, turning into Phosphorus, it was giving me a little bit of flashbacks to you see the Birth of the Sandman sequence in Spider-Man 3 where he gets atomized, and it brought back those kind of visuals to me. It's like someone who's not trying to do bad things, who really isn't, like, who has good intentions, but just gets put in a horrible scenario and physically and mentally falls to pieces because of it. So I saw those parallels there. I doubt they used it as a direct comparison, but who knows, they could have. No, they visualized it in a great way. So I think they pulled off what they were trying to do.
Yeah, and again, it's all about what's happening with the damaging of the human experience, because you know, you see how in the brothel they say, you know, don't let the guards from the princess's castle get to us, and then someone else comes knocking, and it's a bunch of other, like, you know, crappy guys and they're
Yeah.
ready to get on with the girls. And then we hear the screaming and we hear that someone's already in danger. And it was just a shock because you're like, what? Well, not shocked because sadly, this tends to happen a lot from what I've heard. But like, you see that, like, oh my gosh, they're fucking beating the
Yeah.
shit out of the lady, and you're like, and then instantly there's a threat of like, don't mess with us, and you're like, yo, we got meta humans up in this shit. What the fuck?
Yeah.
What the fuck is going
Yeah.
on?
That was quite literally a heart-stopping moment.
Yeah, what did you think of them now showing me, hey man, welcome to the DCU metahumans?
Yeah. That was a pretty subtle way to go about it. Like, they didn't have to shove it in your face and be like, "Oh, look at us, we have powers." Like, they address it, and right away you can tell that certain people in the world have certain dispositions about metahumans versus some others that are probably have more of a lighthearted mindset towards it. But they introduced it with a really grim and dark tone. And that's kind of contrasted with some popular metahumans that you would see, like big examples, the Flash, who is often depicted as being lighthearted, but this gives a very dark approach on metahumans without introducing. I mean, the biggest character that they introduce, is Clayface, and I don't know. I was really just happy with how it was very subtly written and not, again, as I've said about multiple things, not hitting you over the head with it.
Yeah, there's a way that we can at least us interpret it and be like, it's something unusual happening, and yet we can't shy away from the scenario happening. Like, yo, these girls' lives are in danger now. Like, we gotta fix this. And you know what, man? She's been the heart and soul of this show, and you have no idea how happy, how proud I was to see Nina step up to the plate and go full, Ripley for a moment, be like, get away
Yeah.
from her, you bitch. And she didn't say bitch,
Right.
but like I was just
Right.
like,
Yeah.
oh, like yeah, Nina. I think even Disney
Yeah.
was like, yeah, Nina, step up.
No, and especially what you had gotten prior. I don't know if it was in that same episode. It might have been the one before, but she's talking to the bride, and Nina goes, "Do I look like I've ever killed somebody?" Like, you see that progression of how her character is getting more and more kind of ruthless. And I think that line in that episode, whichever one it was in, set the stage for this really well.
Yeah, I agree, and I love that even in this moment, when you look at the bride, and I couldn't find the shot here, but like there's a moment where I'm pretty sure the bride was like proud of her. I'm
Yeah.
like, yo, look at her. She's stepping up to the plate. She's not just, oh golly, what's gonna happen next? She's like, no, she's actually standing up for herself and what she thinks. But I think, but also simultaneously, the bride being the bride, she's like, what is she getting herself into? And like, it
Yeah.
was a very full on little sister, while the big sister sees what's happening. And much like a big sister, and much like whether bride wants to admit it right now or not, like a friend would do. I won't show the shot, but the bride, Brian, the other thug's friend, comes up to be like, all right, girls, we're gonna do this the easy way or the hard. And then before you could finish his line or whatever he said, bam, gets shot. And
Yeah.
the bride, I love the line, bride, you mess with the wrong whorehouse.
Yeah.
That was like so bride talk.
Yeah.
And again, folks, animation is not just for kids. It's not, you don't just have to sell toys for review, because
Nope.
guess what, cabrones? The bride gets punched, electric punch, thrown across the room, but she comes back swinging, and she goes full MK. Finish him.
Yeah.
And it's ironic because a few episodes ago they showcased a little Mortal Kombat footage with the clay.
Yeah. Yeah. They did. That's right.
So I wouldn't be surprised if that was a layup for them to do, a fatality,
It could very well have been. Yeah.
And I love that they went to town. What did you think of this scene?
I think it, like I said, it really kind of showed you how Nina's character had progressed from the past couple episodes we had seen her. It was a literal heart-stopping moment, with just how brutal the action was. And I had always, for the past 5 episodes prior to this, I was like, okay, like this is, like a big kind of step up from some previous animated shows I've seen, just in terms of the animation. Because being a film guy, one thing I love about animation, whether it's a film or a show, is that they can go hog wild with the animation, and then like you can see a lot of things that the human body isn't capable of doing, and you can just go. There's so many different directions you can take an animated style, and this show, and especially this episode, I think is showing that. Even with like simple everyday things, they still manage to animate it really well and make it stand out. And like you were saying, just the way that Bride was acting throughout the whole interaction really fit her character well, and gave that little bit of nod of approval toward Nina, which I thought was a kind of a big thing for her character, because she didn't really interact well with others unless it was like a heat of battle moment. Like whenever her and Phosphorus, right after Phosphorus took out Alexi or things like that, or toward the end of this episode, whenever the group all gets together. So it's like they're chipping away the walls of these characters little bit by little bit and bringing them closer together, and I like that a lot.
Yeah, and let's see. Our friend Phil says she broke his heart. Aha,
Yeah.
aha, 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 aha.
Yeah.
But yeah, and again, again, as much as I love the action in this fucking show. I love it. For me, a lot of the shots and those scenes are damn paintings in terms of action.
Yeah.
But to me, it was this part. It was first the lady who the bride rescues saying mercy and like saying thank you, and Brian was like, ugh. And
Yeah,
then
she's
even
like,
Nina coming down and be like, who's a superhero? She's like, shut up. He's
yeah,
like, who's my best friend? And she's like, listen, I only did it to save your life, so can it, fish? I love that he even
yeah,
calls her fish, which is like the so much of an older sister thing to do. And kudos to Indira Varma, who has just been crushing it. To Zoe Chow, who has been the heart and soul of this show, if you will. I'm just putting it out, señoras. See if you like to be in the show. I would love to talk to you about this because I just want to break down everything you thought about the show. Anyways, but like Frankenstein's iconic lines, Doctor Frankenstein's iconic line, we cut back to what happened to Doctor Phosphorus, and dude, he's alive. He's
yeah.
alive. He lived. He
Right.
went through hell and back, and almost in a ray is now like damn to lift, and he comes back, and it's very much. I said it. It almost felt like a Terminator vibe, where how they show up from the future, and he just back. He's naked, everyone, and he's like almost hysterical, and he goes to the thorns, and it's almost like it's like the moment from Sicario, where Benicio del Toro goes to the family house and has that dinner with him
Yeah.
and be like, "Time to meet God," and I was like, "Yo, what the
Yeah.
hell?"
And he,
Um,
like, all layers with that character are, he is just taking no names. He
yeah,
just screams at the guy's face. He's like, I want Thorn. Like,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. Michael Jordan, the bride will probably be good to the team next episode after what happened at Castle. We'll see, we'll see. Um, But yeah, and then at the same time that Phosphorus makes it out of, is trying to make it back to a rendezvous point to the castle, we say that he encounters a little girl in this little neighborhood that was so sweet, and yet the whole time I was like, dude, don't kill her, like don't do nothing to her. She didn't do anything to
Right.
leave her be. And there was a sweet, wholesome moment, and I think this was almost like a gesture of life, being like, listen, for a quick second, you're gonna feel the way you felt when you had your kid and whatnot. Like it was injustice and it wasn't right that your family would got taken away from you like that. So for a brief moment, someone that this is what I love, that I think even Guillermo del Toro does. Kids don't they see the wonder in everything. Even if it's a dude of a skeleton dude that's on fire,
Yeah.
she's just engaged with this guy and like fascinated and isn't scared of him, at
Right.
all.
And that's what
And
I
he
love
starts,
is during that little sequence where like lifting her up, that whole pretending to fly sequence. It's like, she's not scared of this guy at all. They're having fun.
Yeah, and her, and, he made her dinner and whatnot, and I thought that was so beautiful, and said so much about perspective and how the world made these people monsters, and the world is using them. And yeah, this point was so beautiful, and I remember getting a little choked up because when seeing it again, he's just like, I'm sorry, we were just pretending to fly. And again, he doesn't, he smiles. So it's been a
Yeah.
joke. I'm always smiling, even if I'm not. And you can see, I don't know if it's animation, if it's music, or even it's with the great thing that Alan Tudyk was doing, but like you could sense his sorrow eyes if you had him there with that shot. I could tell them. It was,
Yeah.
Bobby Pill's
Yeah.
studio.
Yeah.
Mwah.
It's always that classic thing where somebody says that you can hear the difference in someone's voice when they're smiling, and I think this was definitely one of those moments.
Yeah, and again, to Sam Liu, kudos, because it's one thing to get an amazing script like this, but it's all like, okay, the story and the feelings and the vibes are gonna stay on the page, but now you gotta put them into motion. And I can't imagine the chaotic experience. How much I know we know how much animation goes through, but like editing wise, getting the voice come through right, and just seeing how even the parents didn't go full on attack mode on him.
Right.
um
They were so
they had
scared, but
they
they
had the
didn't do
club
anything.
ready, and
Yeah.
and again, I was worried because when they show up, I'm like, don't kill them now, don't kill the whole family. Where's the castle? Boom. And I was like, all right, cool,
Yeah.
that's all you need.
Yeah.
Go about your business.
Right.
um
And he just walks off.
but at the same time, or right before we do this, we get experience of how the high life, if you will, that Phosphorus did once he butchered the thorns. And he
Yeah, that was
basically
really cool.
took over the thorn operations, if you will.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, that was the Iceberg Lounge. He was hanging out and doing his version of the
Yep.
Peacemaker intro, and was going full on, cha 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 on the dance floor. Like
Yep.
seeing this in motion, the lighting,
Oh
the
yeah.
costuming, if you will, it was very like. I even love that the guards have like a Day of the Dead. I mean, of course, homage to him, but like it's the Phosphorus gang, it's the
Yeah.
skulls, if you will,
Mhm.
very like the Warriors vibe. And
Yeah.
and at the same time as all this is happening, they're partying, it's driving or not. And like Steve Perry from Journey says, when the lights go down in the city, the lights go down, and Jake, this happens. This was a
Yeah.
full on, Nutty Professor, oh, Hercules, Hercules, Hercules moment, dude.
Yeah.
This was, and dude, instantly, I think a lot of us who have animation and DC in our DNA, we instantly knew that this was a homage to Senor Kevin Conroy and
Yep.
his moment in Batman Taz.
Yep.
What did you think of that when that moment hit? You're like,
Well, I definitely experienced that homage you were talking about. They even went the full mile having the lightning in the background, and just the stance, the presence that the character gives off. I mean, you don't even, the character doesn't even have to move, say anything, do anything, but the character just has that presence by default. And even in those 2, 3 seconds, I got so much from that. And you know, like Phil was saying earlier, like whenever you're in this city, you're there, and they set it up really, really well. But I also don't think that they set you up for disappointment either, because they hinted that like that's where the city was going to be. They showed you just a little bit to get you excited for what's to come, but it's not like they promised a whole big thing out of it. They gave you a little bit, and you really, I don't know. I loved what they gave. Just that little bit to show that the characters there. I know people probably weren't expecting that to be, the character's debut. It might be a little unconventional for that character to debut in
and that's
this
fine.
DCU in this way.
Yeah.
I'm fine with it. And if you want to pull the image back up again, it looks like the cape there is a little more blue. Maybe I'm colorblind, but it looks to be a little more blue than what you're typically used to with black. So could they be going down the blue and gray route? Who knows? It's a little hard to see in that shot, but it looks a little closer to blue than it does black, at least in my opinion. Um, But no, I was stoked with that shot. I had a feeling they were going to do something, but I was like, that's cool.
Yeah, I listen. I That's all I need.
Yeah,
People have been worried about, Batman 2 delays, the Brave and the Bold. What the fuck is going on over there?
yeah,
I'm like, you know what?
yeah, yeah. They didn't have to give us that, but they did.
You know what? Batman is the biggest thing for them. They've been okay with putting out movies and shows out of all this and whatnot. Um, I will happily, patiently wait for anything Batman related in the future. I come from a generation where, in order to watch something, unless you had money, you had to wait in cable for an episode to show up. I
Yep,
didn't know whether we
yep.
were getting a
Same here.
Joker or a Two Face or a
Same here.
Catwoman
Yeah, yeah,
episode. I waited, and
yeah.
so regardless,
Especially whenever those part 1 episodes came on, you had to wait a week to see part 2. It
if they
was
even
rough.
showed it, because sometimes they
Yep.
wasn't always in order.
Nope.
Yeah, folks, if you need Batman in your life, there's plenty of movies and shows of
There's
all
plenty of video
types,
games.
animation or live action, to go through. There's an Audible series. There's books went out, like, we'll be fine for Batman if we took a pause
Right.
from it. But James, being the guy in the DCU, it's a little taste. It's like, he's here. It exists. We confirmed it. Now back to the main show. I think
Right.
Phil said that the blue and gray confirmed. LOL.
Yeah.
I didn't read into it. I just thought, okay, that cool. That looks cool. And again, people have been saying Alan Richardson. But what about Robert Pattinson? I'm like, you know what? So, and he said, and James specifically said, DCU Batman. To me, and I know a lot of people are saying, you people who I like watching this stuff, saying, why would James not want to go for Robert Pattinson? If that movie's doing good, you put him together with your Superman. That sounds like it's going to be going good with that trailer. I'm like, you know what? He said he believes in DC Elseworlds. He wanted to create the DC Elseworlds um, era as well.
Yeah.
If he actually believes that and stands by it, he will leave Matt Reeves and Batman stuff there, and he could do both.
Yeah.
Batman is not a hard thing to crack. It's
No,
been done.
And he's still advocating for Reeves' future Batman project. So you can
Mhm.
tell that, like, I feel like he's either made up his mind or already is like in the process of, like, making up his mind pretty much on what he wants to see with his Batman. And I don't think I don't think he really wants to complicate things with what Reeves has done, because then there's a lot of red tape they would have to go through. And just so you can get the best of both, I think it's a good decision that they're separate.
I agree. Mikhail Jordan says we better get Red Hood solo movie, and Batman looks really good. You never know, man. The dynamic duo movie that's in the pipeline. They
Yeah.
might tackle it. If they announce they're going to do a Clayface movie again, anything is possible. What's that? Karen Garnett. Anything is possible. Anything is possible, y'all.
You can never say never anymore.
As long as it comes from a place of story and character. It's not just a cash grab, and not just because something's going to do right now. Like time. I say, folks, just be patient. Be patient.
Yeah.
If anything, you want to get that juice going, I'm going to put it up again, and I've shown it to you already, Jake. But just so people start knowing who this guy is. You want to know DC stuff? Go read comics. Go read comic books. You want to know more besides just the three? Go read comic books. Go find anything. Throw a rock. There's enough DC stuff that you can go read and experience before you watch a show or a movie.
Yeah. No, and that's what I love about, that's just one of the beautiful things about the DC universe, is that, like, it's a little bit different than Marvel in that regard, is that they have so many fictional areas, and the amount of story potential you can tell with those areas, because they're essentially being made from the ground up, is just endless. You have these cities. You have Gotham, Metropolis, Keystone, Themyscira. You have their take on Atlantis. You have, places like Bialia, which was mentioned in this Creature Commandos episode. Places like Kondak, places like that. Because they're based around fiction, you can really tell any sort of story that you want instead of having to abide by a lot of real world limitations that you would otherwise have to do.
I echo that sentiment. And also another confirmation is that he lives He's
Yep.
alive.
Yep.
He's
He's
a tough
alive.
son of a bitch. And I love that about Senior. I love that about Flags. And
Yeah.
again, a few seconds, and we got this wholesome moment that I'm choosing to believe that like Amanda Waller is actually like feel something and feel like I hope he makes that okay. And like you can call it strategic, but I feel like she does feel bad for putting Senior through this, and also feels maybe has some remorse and some regret of what she posed on Christopher Smith to do with his son, with Junior's son, and it's like again, it's Viola Davis, the great Viola Davis, doing her thing, and like again, moments like this between shot, choice, direction, and animation, it's saying so much, and yet leaving almost into interpretation or not. Who knows? Um, I love that moment. I love the sequence, and Flag will be all right. That's not a spoiler either.
That's
Yeah,
not exactly a spoiler.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, the rendezvous happens, dude, and I think it's when
Yeah.
someone mentioned, I think it was probably here. I'll pull up the
Yeah.
comment. I think somebody said that they shipped they shipped
Uh,
the Bride and
and Phosphorus. Yeah.
Phosphorus. I think it was Mikhail. Yeah, it was Mikhail doing that. I think I would totally ship Bride and Phosphorus. I don't know if I would ship them. I just me, but I love this because at the same time the Firewater song "Hey Clown" kicks in, which is another
Yeah.
new favorite song that I've added to my playlist. Like everybody say "Hey Clown," and just I the comment of "Whoo, you look hot," and then just
Yeah.
shut it, Jack Skeleton, and then
Next
it's like,
skeleton. Yeah.
all right, we made it to this castle, and I don't have it here, but like that shot with the castle, me being a nerd,
Mhm.
it felt like the cover of Castlevania. Right there,
Right.
Belmont
Yeah.
going to go kill Dracula in the castle, and it almost felt a little bit of that. So
Yeah.
I don't know if the animator behind that shot, or if it was Sam Liu or James Gunn, maybe somebody's a Castlevania fan was like, hey, just put
Yeah.
that in there, see what happens.
Well, one thing I really like too about that sequence is whenever you see the four of them, whenever they're next to each other like that, when you look at what the four of them have gone through for the entire episode and like how the stories have been kind of different, you see each one's difference in expression, like how it's reflected what they've just been through in the last 20 minutes. You see this look on the Bride, like a little bit, jaded, but also like, they were just taking care of business. You see kind of what you would think is a blank look on Phosphorus, but he's, gotten a little bit of his humanity back. You see Weasel, who's just come off of making these friends, but unfortunately has to leave them. And it's a really good parallel, and it shows what every character has gone through, and I love that about it. It's a little thing, but I got a lot from it.
I feel the same, and I feel like even like looking at the Bride, she's smiling, like she's gonna go try to go kill someone, but with her crew now, whether she wants to admit it or not, I think she's happy to find people that like
Yeah.
that went back to her, and I'm gonna. It's that moment of Phosphorus asking, her telling Phosphorus, "What are we supposed to be friends now?" And him going, "I think so. We just went through hell and back."
Yeah. Yeah.
I
And
love that. All right, y'all, let's go kill a princess.
right. And that look right there that you see on Nina's face with what she has just gone through in the brothel and how she got into a little bit more of a violent mindset, you can see she's like, okay, there isn't any coming back from this if we go down this road. And that is, again, it's simple things they do with the animation, but it tells you a whole lot.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this to everybody: if you haven't already, they do this all, on the next week of Creature Commandos, or for the finale of Creature Commandos. This is 1 minute trailer. Don't watch it. Ignore that trailer. Ignore that. Um, yeah, yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. Don't watch that, please. Please don't do that to yourself. Like I was very fortunate. I didn't have to go through that. Yeah, that is the episode as a whole. For Creature Commandos. I fucking love this show, man. I fucking
Yeah,
love this show,
great.
man. I something feels right for me. Phil, I'm gonna go watch it. Hello, Mikael Jordan. I hope Waller tells Rick the truth about his son. That's gonna complicate stuff. But I think if she wants some
Uh,
peace in her and to resolution, she's gonna have to come clean. I mean, her own son, her own son,
if
Jesus,
if
her
she
own
wants to
daughter.
make peace,
Yeah. Right.
uh,
Um, but yeah, the best compliment I can give the directors, the cast, the crew, James Gunn, um, uh, Bobby Pill Studio, everybody at DCU, is that I want the Blu-ray already.
yeah. N-
Like,
I'm getting a lot of similar impressions from whenever I first watched the first Guardians that James Gunn made, because this is very like, and the reason I say it's similar is because going into that movie, the other characters I knew by name only. There was only one character in that case, it was Drax, that I knew a little bit about
mm,
because I guess he was in the Silver Surfer animated series that was one of the ones I
yeah,
grew up with. And this was kind of the same thing. Like going into this show, I knew the one character that I knew a little bit about from the past. It was Dr. Phosphorus, and really didn't know a lot about the others. But not only did they do a really good story with that character, I don't really dislike a single character right now.
exactly. Funko Incorporated. I want those Funkos ASAP.
Oh yeah,
I also want Rick Flag, Senior. I want Princess Alana. Um,
Weasel.
Weasel has one, and he has his own toy statue from McFarlane Toys.
Oh,
If you
nice.
want to know, I'm gonna put it out right now. This is shameful, but it's New Year, and I want the brands to know. You want me to do an unboxing for you about Creature Commando stuff? Send it to me. I will happily do a video of unboxing because I am loving this series. I mean, I told myself that like after the show ends, I'm gonna go like I mean I already have the original Jim DeMatteis trade paperback collection of the original Weird Tales stories with the original crew, but I want to catch a lot of the series that led up to this point. Even now, the current one that's being written by David Desmalchian. So it's something is hitting right when a you want a physical media copy of it, and you want to learn more about it ASAP.
Yeah, and Phil is right. I do need a GI Robot Funko now.
Oh man, what was the song? Coin Robot Boy, or whatever was the name of
Yeah,
it? What,
I can't remember the name of the title, but yeah,
yeah, and Mikael Jordan. Yeah, I want those Funko Pop as well, especially glow in the dark phosphorus. I usually don't buy those glow in the dark stuff. This is one that I'm gonna make the
that will
exception
that
for. I'm
that
like,
would go hard.
I want that. Yeah, I want
Yeah.
that.
Whew.
Jake, do you have any final thoughts on the episode that we haven't tackled yet? Is there something else that you liked? Maybe you have a favorite moment or a favorite character you have going thus far with the series?
Um. Well, so my two favorite characters right now they're probably Weasel and Phosphorus right now. You know, with with Phosphorus, like I said, I already knew a little bit about the character, but this one really explored the humanity of the character, and that goes tenfold for Weasel, which, as I said, is even more impressive considering it's a character without dialogue. And I expected, going into it, it was kind of like what you and me both said about I'll use a Marvel comparison here. What you and me both said about X-Men '97, like we were hoping it would be good, didn't realize it would be as good as it has been. And I've just been absolutely loving it so far. It's got me interested in learning, like more about these characters outside of that. Because if there's one thing I can definitely, if there's one thing I can give James Gunn credit for, criticize a lot for sure, but he pulls from the deep history of these comic characters and like pulls from areas no one is expecting, and he has that habit of turning these who asked for this characters into beloved characters. I mean, like I said, look at what he did with the Guardians alone, and this is, I think, will probably not be as will not have as much of a reach considering it's a limited, or not limited series. It is getting a second season, but it's only an HBO series. It probably won't have that same reach, which is unfortunate, but I definitely love what they're doing. And yeah, that shot right there, all I needed to get me hyped for the future of just the prospect of what that could lead to.
Yeah, I love that there's so much love for the past with
Yeah, just
this
yeah,
show.
that era of DC, like you said before.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this crew. I love this crew so much.
Yeah.
Let's so we we brought it up. that we are getting a season 2 of Creature Commandos. Again, briefly, because you haven't seen the finale yet, what would you hope out of season 2 of Creature Commandos? I remember this was the image that they dropped
Yeah.
when they announced that, yeah, we're getting a season 2. Glad everybody's digging the show. Let's get with it. What did you think? Or what did you hope for season 2 of Creature Commandos? Again, just a little taste of what we'll talk about next week.
Well, I think somebody brought it up in the comments earlier. It would be interesting if they go down the whole route of Waller telling Rick the truth. Would like to see, I don't think they've given a date for it yet, but if it, releases before that Clayface film that's been announced, see if it will plant any seeds for that. I doubt it, but it'd be interesting to see if they did. And whatever movies happen in between then, it would be interesting to see if they throw in those little connective tissues that just show you it's a living universe. It doesn't mean you're going to miss any big details if you don't watch an animated series, but just building out this lore and fleshing out the world is, I think, one of the most impressive things they've done so far. So really just an extension of that, and just seeing more of what there is out there is like probably the most I could say right now.
Yeah. Hunter Iggy says, Run Unchained. I hope we get new characters in season 2 and new teams. Yeah, that should be interesting. Yeah, I have a lot of thoughts saying that. Let's see. Mikael Jones says, make the Metal Men appear in season 2 and have them with their own spinoff.
That would
James
be
Gunn
interesting.
has said that we did see the Doctor crap. My brain is scrambled right now because of the little thing I got going on. But we saw the Doctor behind the Middleman, and I love the design. And if I'm not mistaken, James Gunn has said that was his favorite comic book growing up when he was a little kid, was the Middleman. So like the fact that he's a Middleman fan, I'm like,
you're talking
that
about
is
Will
so
Magnus,
cool.
right?
There it is,
Yep.
Will Magnus. Thank you, Felipe. Bill. I'm hopeful. I think that, to me, if this was all we're gonna get about the Commandos in terms of a series, but they would pop up in movies and other shows, I would have been content with that, and I would have been happy. But the fact that we're getting a season 2, it's almost like a one-up of what we got with the Guardians trilogy. We're like, okay, after that first movie, we didn't just get 2 more movies. We're gonna get another season, and hopefully, again, a criticism that's fair. I'm not. To me, I don't have that many flaws with the show, but if this was added to it, I would not be disappointed. I would be enthusiastic more. But if they made these episodes longer, we spend more time, and there were 40-minute episodes out of pure metal animation with the direction, with these directors, with the writing, with these performers, and the crew behind it. Give me more. Give me more. And to emphasize to folks is that patience, because season 2 was announced, but it's gonna be a while before that. Animation takes a while, and I don't want these artists rush. I've heard stories from dozens of people in the industry of how animation works, and sometimes it breaks my heart when I remember, because they make art out of miracles, and I don't want that to be the tone for that. I'm like, give these artists their time. I don't want them working 20-hour shifts. I don't want that. Let them take their time, and we will be there. I sound like a fucking businessman. The consumer will be there. I will be there.
Yeah.
I will show up and watch it again. You guys proving your words, right?
That's one of the things too, is that we always
ahead.
want like more episodes of our favorite series. Like we want it to be longer, but it depends on the story they're telling. So like if the way they told this story was in like 7-8 episodes that are around 20 minutes long, then that's what fits. If for this next season the story they want to tell, say they're going to do 9 episodes each 40 minutes, then that's their story. I think it all depends on where the end goal is.
That's fair. Yeah, I think so. Hunter Iggy, Run Unchained. They should let James Gunn cooked with 12 or 13 episodes instead of 7. even then, I would have been fine at that. But then again, nothing right now. Seeing the show, nothing feels too drawn out
or rushed.
or rushed. Yeah, I'm not sensing any of that. Um, you see how the dynamics work and how, like, again, either Phosphorus and Bride, quote unquote, don't get along. They're the ones that don't
Yeah,
aren't afraid to get their hands dirty. And you sense
right.
how GI Robot wasn't afraid to get his hands dirty, was eager to, but was also just as eager to keep his friend Nina safe. And
Yeah,
how Weasel was, the pet, if you will, or the little cousin of the family.
yeah,
And when push came to shove, he came in the clutch when it came to protecting the princess and whatnot. And
yeah,
you have Rick Flag Sr. being the leader at that point, trying to make sure everything was right.
yeah. Um,
I think it's fine. Would I have been against this? No, because I would be ready for another 6 more weeks of this stuff, and I would have been fine with that. Um, but if stuff like that maybe is added on in season 2, I welcome it.
I will say one last thing that I love that the show has done is in the first 6 episodes that we've gotten, each episode, like while it's had its own overarching story that has gone throughout the series, there have also kind of been these, like, the way that they've told you the backstories of these characters has almost kind of worked as anthologies for each episode. Like as you see the overarching story, you get the backstories of certain characters. That's kind of like your subplot. Like you got the Weasel backstory in episode 4, the Eric Frankenstein backstory in episode 5, the Phosphorus in episode 6, and but it's all being tied into what's going on. It's like you're not cutting to something completely unrelated. It's all interwoven together, and I love the way they're doing it.
Yeah. Mikhail Jordan says, who will be the main villain of season 2 or big threat? Also, do the Commandos go back with Waller or have them go off on their own? I don't know, because to be quite frank, if they were on their own, they fucking wouldn't be doing this shit. They would be
No,
like,
they wouldn't have a
they would,
purpose.
well,
Well,
anyways. I think for the most part, they would be like, no. Have the fucking. I would literally would think Brad would be like, get the fucking get spandex to go take care of that. Let
yeah,
those bums on TV get the moment of shine. I'm on my vacation. I want a massage. I want a beer. I want a good steak, if you will. Let me rest.
yeah,
But I think that's how they feel. Who would be the main villain? I would, to keep it in circle and not just be throwaways. Those villains that were teased in Belle Reve, especially the ones that GI Robot passes through, like the guy who's a Metamorpho villain, I think, or an
yeah,
Aquaman villain. I mean, like, you know what? Put them on. Let's see them go at it.
yeah,
Let's make sure that's not just a little cute thing, and just add on to it, if you will. You don't have to get the big guns already. You don't have to pull no Brainiac or Gorilla Grodd, if you will, already. Even though they teased it, I'm like,
right,
let's see if you can find the toys that are in your toy chest that you haven't used yet in a big way in previous movies, shows, or video games
because
or
they're
comics.
there.
Oh yeah, they're there. I think season 2 might be already in production. Might get it in 2026. It might be. That's the case. Cool, but again, I want to emphasize: as long as the artist and the crew don't have to go through crunch and work 20 hours for a minimum wage, if you will, or whatever the pages in the industry, I don't want that, because that just sends a bad vibe, especially if some
Right.
of those crew members are big DC fans.
Yeah, and if you can tell whenever they're being micromanaged, you can tell the product is not as good as it could be.
Yeah, I think Hunter Gee has a question. Ronan Unchained, what's if question? Princess is pregnant with Rick Flag Senior child. Um, Jerry. I know. I think that'll be a lot to deal with. I think that'll be a lot for Rick Flag to deal with, because of how you could tell he's still mourning his son. But he cares for the princess, I think. Even though Edward Frankenstein was like, "Oh, the love, that is
Yeah,
good love." Like when Harry met
yeah,
Sally.
yeah. And then he's like, "It's not love exactly."
Yeah, and he is king of the world. I don't know.
Yeah,
I think that'll be an interesting take. That'll be a very soap opera thing, of you all. If they do want to go down the route, I hope they do like look at some of like soap opera, especially Mexican soap operas, and just Look how they do shots when something shocking is revealed, and do that. If you're really gonna do that, like, no, she is pregnant. You are the father. If they do that, I want them to do some of that, because that's something I would do. It just is like close up on Rick Flag and him be like, "Oh shit," and the person's all
Yeah.
happy when I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, you could put that stuff in there with creative writing, but there's also a lot of ways to do it badly.
Yeah. I still think that's one of the funniest scenes. It's just them banging in the bathroom, be like, "Give him a minute."
Yeah.
Yeah. Phil, LOL, LOL, LOL.
Yeah, you gotta laugh at that.
Folks, that's it for the stream. We talked episode 6 of Creature Commandos. Spoilers. I thank you all who joined in comments down below. If you're watching it in the future, thank you for bothering to check this video out. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. I want to reach 1,000 subs. If I haven't yet, but most importantly, amigo, thank you so much for hanging out and talking DC stuff. Plug yourself, Jake. Plug yourself.
So you can find me here at Joypad Jake, mainly on YouTube, and what I do down here is right at the bottom. Do Let's Plays. Right now I have a Jack and Dax for the Precursor Legacy Let's Play going on.
Nice.
Rankings, doing like rankings in the Arkham series, all the aspects of it, whether it's, we did all the costumes, so now we're doing things like DLCs. I have boss fight rankings coming out soon, challenge maps, all sorts of nooks and crannies, retro reviews of older games. Our next retro review is X-Men Legends 2 Rise of Apocalypse, and then we got more rankings coming out where I'm ranking, like the best character designs in video games. We did Batman, Superman, Spider-Man. We just did Venom. Our next one coming out is Green Lantern. So a lot of good things coming out here, a lot of different varieties. So I imagine there's probably something there for you if you're watching this stream. I imagine you'll like something down here.
Here.
Thank you.
Folks.
And trying to reach 2,000 subs by July. I'm trying to see if we can get that goal.
Nice. Folks, at Running Unchained on Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, YouTube, Twitch, TBD in the future. I might start doing streams on Twitch as well. Yeah, folks, I have a lot of crazy ideas with this channel, and the more I get subs and I can monetize, and the more I get the viewpoints, I can do all of these crazy ideas to entertain y'all and share my enthusiasm with it. This show has been one of the best things I've ever done in my life in terms of being a content creator, even though that sounds crazy to say at points. But just as a fan, this is ecstasy. This is jazz, if you will. But tune in next week, folks. I'm gonna do my damnest to get almost everybody that's been already on Commandos chat and more. You might see some people who've been in the comments section show up. You never know. And yeah, I got a whole week to cook up something cool that I really want to do for that day, because I want it to be a celebratory thing and a big statement of like where we are as fans in this new DCU era. But until then, take care of yourselves. Have a happy new year. Drive safely if you're driving. But I'm gonna let us out by quoting The Bride of Frankenstein to reiterate what chapter we're on, because we are in the first chapter of the DCU. And to that, Doctor, take it away.
To a new world of gods and monsters.